At AIR, I work predominantly for the Texas Comprehensive Center. Through that role, part of what we do is provide technical assistance in the service of capacity building with our state agencies. I work more exclusively around school improvement. When you look at Texas, what we talk a lot about, the green dots and the red dots. And for us, these were two groups of schools. One group were the red dots, and these are schools that under the state accountability system were considered to be improvement required. So these are the focus and priority schools. That included both traditional public schools, which are the red circles, and charter schools, which are the red squares. We also wanted to be able to see Title I schools that have been high performing and high growth over time. So we wanted to see who are the people that are, based on demographics, maybe should not be doing as well as they are, but are. And so we've depicted those on our maps as green dots. And those are green dots and green squares. So you have traditional schools and charter schools. One of the first things that jumped out to us was that we have these very large pockets of high-performing schools in the Rio Grande Valley, which is the border between Texas and Mexico. And so there's a lot of interest from the school improvement division, and so we've got a cross-functional team sitting around a table, and everybody's asking the question, what's going on in the Rio Grande Valley, to where we have some of the highest concentrations of poverty, some of the most homogeneous, low-income Latino, Tejano communities in the state, and they are completely knocking it out of the park. And so there was something to learn, and what's, I think, lovely about that is that your eye is drawn quickly to a place, and then it begs more questions. What is it that would be helpful to the families and the leaders in the Rio Grande Valley that they would want to learn to help them continue that improvement? So it's been very interesting the ways that the kind of quantitative data represented spatially prompts an action towards a qualitative response. That was a really positive story. There's others that were more troubling and also had some layers of complexity we didn't understand. One in particular is there's a cluster of districts that all run along in West Texas, kind of from the middle of the Panhandle over to the very tip of Texas, where El Paso sits. And these are places over the last several years that have been kind of the heart of the Texas oil boom. And because of that, there's been massive influx of workers, the property values have soared, and those cities have actually really struggled to keep teachers because of affordability issues. It's unavoidable once you've depicted it spatially to see that there's a really high concentration of low-performing schools. Based on that work, we have real questions about recruiting and retaining great teachers and leaders in that place. But it's really prompted this next step, which is, and what do we need to go learn more about to be able to be effective as an agency and to make sure, from the stakeholders' perspective, that the resources we are providing are the right resources. So there's several other contexts to where that's really important. I think particularly in your big urban areas where racial and economic segregation is most striking, there's a real imperative for a kind of renewed, if not an entirely new way of thinking about how to interface with large urban districts. It also just illustrates really the complexity of how things intersect in places. Going into neighborhoods to where you say, how do we intervene in these 4 zip codes that are almost exclusively predominantly Black and poor? In Houston as an example. Improving whole systems has to include the whole system, and that includes state and federal agencies as well as elementary school classrooms.